Hello. How is everybody doing? If you see me kind of looking up and down, it's because I'm on Facebook as well. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen while we're waiting for people to hop on. We're going to be talking all about hormone resilience for women. So if you are not a woman and you are not interested in hearing about women's hormones, pop back on a different time. But hey, Jess, good to see you. See here. Give me a moment. We're going to get started here in just a second. Looks like my link had a little bit of trouble going out for those of you that are waiting. So, all right, we're going to get started here in just a second, guys. How's everybody doing this evening? Hey, Andrea, good to see you on here. Hey, Jessica, good to see you on here. Where is everybody at with like their kids wrapping up school? Are you guys done with school? Do you have another week left? I'm super curious. We have one more day of school, so I'm excited and nervous for all the changes. So it's going to be really good and really fun and really crazy, right? Really, really crazy. So let's see here. I'm going to give people just a minute or two more to hop on before we get started. But yeah, I'm excited to connect with you guys tonight. I'm excited to share all about hormone resilience and developing hormone resilience and what does that actually mean? So, as I've been teaching on hormones really for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, but on my own hormone balancing journey for the last 13 years, I can tell you that it is way less about balance and way more about developing resilience, which looks like kind of ebbing and flowing more in each season. Hey there, I'm not sure who hopped on. So if you are here, I would love for you to put your name in the chat. That way I can see who you are and interact with you appropriately. Yeah, it's a lot more about developing hormone resilience, which looks a lot more like nourishing your hormones appropriately in every season, right? So, how you nourish your hormones during postpartum, right, or perimenopause is going to be very different than how you take care of your hormones when you're 13 or 14, right? Hey, Lori, thanks for joining. There's just a lot there, right? So we're going to be diving into all of that. For those of you that are on Instagram Live, I am sharing on Zoom and on Facebook, and those participants using the Zoom link will be able to see my slides. So if you want that afterwards, just give me a thumbs up and I will send that your way. But I'm going to give, yeah, just one more moment here for people to hop on. Good to see you, Lori. Okay. So we're going to be talking tonight primarily about resetting your nervous system and your microbiome for optimal hormone function. Okay. So we're really just going to be cutting through a lot of the yuck and a lot of the just bleh of all the information that's out there about our hormones and what we should be doing. I saw a hilarious reel today that was like, it's really simple to balance your hormones. Just eat a lot of protein and have no carbs and work out 5 times a week and drink a lot of water, but not too much water. And definitely make sure to get rid of toxins. And it's just overwhelming, right? It is so overwhelming, all of the information that's out there. Um, so I'm just going to be cutting through a lot of the information that's not helpful for you and isn't serving you guys anymore. So let's dive right in. Okay, so we're gonna be covering tonight what your symptoms really mean. Like how many of you are tired of guessing what your symptoms actually mean, right? I know that I'm tired of it. I don't like having to do guesswork. I like knowing what's going on in my body and what my body's trying to tell me. We're going to be talking about why what your doctor doesn't know could be keeping you stuck, why what you've tried hasn't worked, and then the 3 steps to eliminating your symptoms for good. So we're going to be talking about all of that stuff tonight. So typically when I'm working with somebody, now I've been working with women in the online space since 2018, really. I left my hospital nursing job and really just went all in helping women to balance their hormones from a holistic perspective. And so in that period of time, which is about 5 years of data, our typical client results, I wish I could share the screen with you, those of you that are on Instagram and Facebook. But typically what we see in there is within 2 to 3 weeks, we see improved mood and energy. And this is marked improvement, meaning like 25% symptom reduction, right? Which is pretty awesome. Within about 6 to 8 weeks, we see reduced bleeding during their menstrual cycle, elimination of cramping, reduction in PMS symptoms, reduced or eliminated migraines. Let's see here, and total elimination of symptoms between weeks 9 and week 12. So what took me 4 years to really balance my hormones, my clients are seeing within 3 months. So how many of you, I'm just really curious, those of you on Instagram and on Facebook and in the Zoom chat, like that would be life-changing for you to be symptom-free within 3 months. I know that it would have been for me. I'll be sharing a little bit more about my specific journey, kind of woven throughout this process. I don't want to take a ton of time on my personal story with that. But a little bit about me. I am a registered nurse. I've got just over 20 years of clinical experience, including all of my unpaid years during clinical rotations, et cetera. I've worked in a lot of different nursing environments before moving into the online space in 2018. I am the host of the Abundant Wellness podcast, which if you are not a subscriber, I would highly encourage you to go subscribe to that. I'm the author of the book Wrapped in Kindness, and a functional hormone practitioner. So I really, really, really love helping women to balance their hormones. I love working with children and helping them to uncover some root causes of why they might be stuck with behavioral issues, and really just helping them to get to the bottom of why they're not feeling well. For those of you, again, if you're on Instagram and you want the slides, make sure to comment the slides and I will get the recording over to you so you can see them. But here's just a screenshot of different places that I have been featured in the past as a contributor or, hey, Susan, thank you for joining. We are talking all about hormone resilience tonight. So these are all people that I would recommend that you follow, whether that be like a published article or a podcast. I would encourage you to give them a follow, and just be encouraged by their content. So, all right, let's dive in. What do your painful periods, mood swings, irritability, fatigue, and low libido mean anyway? So as I was doing a lot of this research and development, which my friends joke that research would have been my second career if I had not gone into nursing, because I love digging for data. I love putting puzzle pieces together, and research and development is kind of like that. So in all of the research and development for working with women and all of the advanced training, I could really boil down the majority of our symptoms to 3 main categories, okay? So how many of you feel like trying to understand hormones is like trying to learn Chinese? Like it feels like trying to learn a different language. It's confusing, it's overwhelming. Just when you think you understand one thing, the other stuff doesn't make sense, right? Or just when you have one thing figured out, then everything else feels confusing. Like that's not a great place to be. It doesn't feel good to be in that space. But really, like at the bottom of the majority of every woman that I've ever worked with, their cycles and their menstrual issues, this can be boiled down to 3 main problems, okay? The first is poor liver congestion. So if you think about your liver being like a sponge, its job is to mop up toxins, metabolize hormones, synthesize vitamins, cleanse the blood. It does a lot of things for us, okay? Secondly, the gut-brain connection. So if your gut is not communicating with your brain properly, which we'll be diving more into each of these specifics here very shortly, it's not going to be able to tell your brain to make the right hormones at the right time of the month, okay? Which then leads to fatigue, mood swings, and irritability, which is a problem. So I'm curious, how many of you on here, when I talk about the gut-brain connection, you know what I mean? Just give me a thumbs up in the comments if you know what I mean when I say that. If you don't know what I mean, that's totally okay. I'm going to dive right into it and give you a really good overview of what that means and what that looks like. Okay. Um, and the third main thing that we see, this would be like the bottom of the iceberg, okay, is inadequate nourishment to support your hormone health. So we may have access to all of the foods that we could ever possibly want, right? We have access to all of it. However, our food is the most nutrient, it is the most void of nutrients it has ever been in the history of our planet, okay? And that's primarily because of how we've treated the land, how our animals are treated. They are not healthy, so they're not digesting nutrients properly, which means that we're not getting nutrients from our meat and our soil. So we are historically the most nutrient deficient we've ever been, okay? And so we need to look at like what hormones specifically we need to nourish in order to support our hormone health, okay? We're going to talk about that more here too. So a lot of women think that the root cause of their problems is low progesterone, low testosterone, high cortisol, or high estrogen. And they may think this, you may think this too, because maybe you've had a blood test done and it's actually come back with one of those things being elevated. However, if you're on the other end of that spectrum and you've had your labs drawn and they've said like everything's normal, everything's fine, that can feel really frustrating because it's not actually explaining the root cause of your symptoms. And we'll dive into that a little bit more too. But the root causes of all of the symptoms that I mentioned are gut dysbiosis, so bacterial imbalances in the gut that are leading to big problems. Inadequate liver detoxification, so meaning that your liver is not detoxifying toxins and metals and estrogens. The job of your liver is to break down some of those estrogens and get them out of the body. Again, that disconnect between the gut and the brain. High stress, meaning we have a poor stress resilience, poor sleep, and inadequate nutrition that's not supporting the liver and the gut and the brain to function properly. Is this making sense to everybody so far? You can just give me a thumbs up if so. I love this graphic. Honestly, I wish that I had the sourcing to give credit to this because I did not make this graphic. But here's just a graphic of some of the things that your liver does, okay? And for those of us that grew up, you know, in the early 90s, early 2000s, we have experienced multiple hits to our livers primarily. Even if you were never using drugs, if you ever used pharmaceutical medication, if you ever took ibuprofen, if you ever used Tylenol, if you were on anything like Accutane or, you know, medications that are really, really hard on your liver, uh, your body is going to take a hit from that. So here's just a kind of a graphic of some of the things that your liver does, okay? So some symptoms of liver congestion, and I just want you to put in the comments how many of these symptoms you experience, okay? So irritability, anger, and rage before your cycle, mood swings, if you've ever been diagnosed with estrogen dominance via blood testing or urine testing, heavy periods, painful periods, low vitamin D, seasonal depression, difficulty falling or staying asleep. This is often a symptom that gets really missed by women as they're working on balancing their hormones, okay? Is their sleep patterns. We do really need to pay attention to that because that can point us to some really significant issues with our hormones. So what causes liver congestion? I know that I mentioned a few of them, but I kind of want to dive in a little bit deeper here. Toxin overload with our food, water, and environment. We're getting toxins pretty much from everywhere, and our body's trying to work them out as fast as it can. Gallbladder issues, or if you've ever had your gallbladder removed, If you've had gallstones, those, if you think about, I'll kind of go back to this picture here. The gallbladder and the liver, they're buddies. So this little kind of nub that you see here, that is the gallbladder. So if that's not working properly, it does a lot of things to the liver that is really not helpful for us, right? And it also explains why if you ever took birth control or hormone replacement therapy, that doesn't solve the root cause of the problem. It just doesn't, because the root cause is not the high estrogen. The root cause is not low progesterone. It's all of these upstream problems. All right, so prolonged periods of stress. The liver is particularly very, very sensitive to stress, okay? So when we are under extreme stress for prolonged periods of time, that typically will cause like just a sluggish liver. And then obviously, then we're going to start having some exacerbated symptoms of that. So how many of you have ever had like a period of extreme stress and then you noticed that your periods were just wacky, like they just were not they were not functioning the way that they should be. You knew that like maybe you had more cramps or more bloating or more anxiety or more sleep issues. That is because stress impacts the entire nervous system, okay? And it's going to impact the liver as well. And of course, birth control and pharmaceutical medications all have an impact on the liver. So remember that second root cause that we were talking about is the gut-brain connection, okay? So this is from the Lancet, I believe. I believe this one's from the Lancet, although I don't see it cited on here, but hold on just one second. Oops. Hold on, ladies, one moment. We've got to get that screen to work. Sorry about that. Right. All right, so we have this beautiful gut-brain axis, okay? And this is the nervous system that's communicating between the gut and the brain. And when it's doing that, it's moving in both directions all of the time. So this is what we mean when we talk about how the gut-brain connection, how the nervous system and the microbiome interact with each other. And I think this graphic is so cool because it actually shows us let's see here. When somebody has the appropriate beneficial bacteria in their microbiome, it has a direct impact on your neurons or your neurotransmitters that produce happy mood chemicals, right? So when our gut is out of balance, what it actually releases is, hey, Marcia, thank you for joining. So happy you're here. We are talking about hormones and hormone resilience tonight. So what happens is the harmful bacteria actually release something called endotoxins, and those endotoxins are actually very, very harmful to the production of our neurotransmitters. Now, your gut makes about 70 to 80% of your serotonin and dopamine. Some studies have even shown 90%, which is wild to me that we can make that much in our gut, okay? So the gut-brain connection is very, very important when we're talking about regulating the nervous system and healing the microbiome for hormone regulation, okay? So let's break this down. I love simple, and so this is why I kind of have broken it down into three main categories. Of course, there's going to be some overlap in these symptoms because the body is complex, and some of these symptoms they do overlap into other categories. And I do have a comprehensive hormone assessment. If you're wanting that, just comment assessment below, and I will make sure to get that over to you. Okay. But some symptoms of a poor gut-brain connection, okay? So history of anxiety or depression. Let's see here. Welcome, Mama Bear. Happy that you're here. History of anxiety or depression. If you've ever had acne, bloating, food allergies, constipation, diarrhea, loose stools before your period, insomnia, postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, or if you've ever been diagnosed with low progesterone, meaning if you've ever had a lab test or a urine test that showed, hey, my progesterone's really low, um, that is an indicator of a poor gut-brain connection, meaning there is a problem with the gut-brain axis, okay? So I would love to know in the comments how many of these symptoms you currently have. Most women, when I'm working with them, usually come in but with between 5 to 7 um, symptoms in this category. Okay. And we're tracking all of them when we work together because we want to see all of them go down to 0. Okay. Okay. So I see on there 7, 5. Yeah. That's pretty typical. Yeah. Yeah. And so many women don't realize that these are all connected to each other. So a lot of times when I talk to somebody and they say, oh, my periods are normal, I only bleed for 5 days and they come regularly. But then when we start digging into their symptoms, they're having all of these symptoms that they didn't actually realize were connected to the bigger problem. Okay. So let's talk about what causes that gut-brain disconnection. So we've got food allergies, prolonged periods of stress, like we talked about, that just wreaks a lot of havoc on the nervous system. Pregnancy slows down motility to the gut. And if we're not actively working on supporting our digestion through pregnancy, it will cause a lot of problems with our motility in the long term and the microbial balance, okay? Brain injuries like whiplash, a traumatic brain injury, concussion, all of those can cause issues with the gut-brain connection. Hey, Monica, thank you for joining. Talking all about hormones tonight. Infections like SIBO, Lyme, or Epstein-Barr virus, food and environmental triggers that impair the lining of the gut. We know specifically what I'm talking about here is glyphosate. Glyphosate is a pesticide that is sprayed on GMO foods that will destroy the lining of the gut. It's terrible for you. So if at the bare minimum, all you can buy is non-GMO, get it. Get it where you can, and especially on your fruits and vegetables, your produce items, because they harbor a lot of those toxins, which is just not great for us. Okay, so Hashimoto's, other autoimmune conditions, and of course, antibiotic usage. All of those can cause a major disconnection in the gut brain and the gut brain axis, which then makes it hard to have a healthy, happy mood right before your cycle. So this is where a lot of women will say, I've been on progesterone for my mood before my cycle, and it helps maybe like 10%. Like I see a 10% improvement in my symptoms. That is because if we are not addressing the gut-brain connection, we're not going to see improvement in those symptoms. Is that making sense to everybody so far? I'm curious, how many of you have been on antibiotics and noticed that your mood was a problem afterwards? Like, I'm just curious. I have. Hey, Dayla, good to see you. Yeah. Okay, let's dive into why what you've tried hasn't worked, okay? Because if we're going to do something different about our symptoms, we have to be able to we have to be able to understand why what we were doing wasn't actually working for us. So I talk a lot about addressing root causes and a lot about addressing root causes in a systematic way. Because if we don't have a roadmap to get to where we're needing to go, then we're not going to get there. And that's going to be really, really frustrating. And we end up spinning our wheels and doing all of the wrong things when it just doesn't have to be that complicated. So, all right. So, birth control, again, does not address the root causes, is terrible for your gut-brain connection. We are seeing a lot of evidence of birth control impacting the pituitary gland long after somebody stops using it. We see long-term impacts on birth control on the liver, which then just typically makes our symptoms worse, which is so frustrating when when we're in that boat. It's just not fun. Hormone replacement therapy, again, is not addressing the issues in a systematic way that actually leads to those long-term results. Paleo, keto, or intermittent fasting. I actually got a great question from somebody today about that, wondering why it wasn't changing her symptoms. And again, that is because while eating nourishing foods like keto and paleo can provide, it is not specific enough to balancing women's hormones. Those are two completely different things. We need different nutrients for that. Same thing for essential oils and exercise. They all can have their place, but you have to know where to place them. And you have to be working with somebody that knows when and how to use those things in order to really start seeing results. And then, of course, medication. Again, I also feel like medication, like anti-anxiety medication or mood stabilizers, definitely can have their place when we're talking about mood swings. However, if you have not addressed the gut-brain axis with supporting it with the right kind of probiotics, supporting the entire digestion, meaning from the time food touches your lips all the way down, it's just not going to be very effective. All right, let's take a listen to a case study, and hopefully those of you that are on live on Facebook will be able to hear this as well.
Yeah, and also just not so much accepting stuff as normal anymore. Like I think as women especially, we're constantly told like, oh, you have menstrual, go cry in a corner, like that's part of life, go deal with it. You know, like it's like everyone minimalizes all these things, and it's like then you realize that there's actually freedom from all this stuff, and you're like, wait, what? Like I can like live a normal life. What is this? Like, yeah. So having the tools to not just figure out what your body's telling you and how to fix it, but realizing that you don't have to live with it. Like it's not okay. Like right? It's not just accept it and move on. Like you have things you can do. I think that was the biggest turn for me. Is like not just having to accept it anymore. Awesome. Yeah. And so how's life for you now? Like I know you've been graduated for a while now and life and with all the things in the middle of COVID and all the crazy. So share it out right now and how you're feeling. It's been that's what I joke all the time, like it really was like life changing in that sense. So like funny and cheesy, like but it really has been for us because like now, the biggest thing was facing surgery for these blood cycles. But now like I'm pretty much probably as regular, if not more than I was on birth control, which is insane. Like even on birth control I wasn't always right. It's like my body like maybe my everything. Yeah, like but overall, like I'm ridiculously regular, which is nice. I can get nice a little better. And then um, the mood swings and stuff, like I feel like I don't get as overwhelmed or I'm too tired. Like I do have relaxation, like the life again. So yeah, it's been that sounds selfish and cheesy, so I really hate to even say that. But like it really was like huge, huge change. Like, it's been crazy. Even my mom, like, if, you tell me she was all things. Kindness. Like, sometimes we'll be out and about and we talk about something, be like, do you know how awesome it is that, like, nothing overwhelmed me? Like, just didn't even be like, whatever. And she would, like, I'm sorry, it's like, so joke. Actually, like, it was not actually that, but, like, but it's joking, for my,
Okay, so the reason I love to share case studies is because they're relatable, right? We all have experienced some of this stuff, and it's important to see like what success actually looks like when it comes to balancing your hormones, that it means so much more than just having regular periods. It means having a balanced mood. It means getting to play with your children without getting fatigued. It means not snapping at every little thing, right? It's a big deal. So I'm actually going to skip over this part for now. Let's go to, sorry. All right, so let's talk about how we actually solve the problem, because now you know what your problem is. You know that what you have been trying has not been working. And so now we got to talk about how to actually do this. And so when I'm working with somebody specifically in the Hormone Wellness Academy, but just in general, there are three phases of healing that we have to address, and they go back to the three root causes. So if you remember the three root causes, you'll remember that we need to address the liver metabolism. So the poor liver metabolism of estrogen and toxins is number one. And that's what we do in what I call the hormone flush. So how we do this is we use very specific nutrients that are targeting those three phases of liver detoxification. So I actually had somebody reach out to me today and say, hey, what do you think about DIM? I heard that it was great for estrogen detox, and that is true. However, it's only great for about one of the liver detoxification pathways. So if you take it and you're still having a lot of excess estrogen symptoms like breast tenderness, fatigue, cramping, heavy, painful periods, then more than likely it's one of the other two detox pathways that also needs to be addressed. So how we do this by using specific guided nutrition, meaning we are working with you to figure out the ratios and the amounts of specific foods that help to nourish the liver. So these are things like leafy green vegetables. They are things like herbs and spices that actually really are very supportive of the liver. So we are doing this so that your body can actually eliminate those excess estrogens and toxins in a very specific way that actually help you to see noticeable, significantly improved symptoms. So like I said at the very beginning, when we're working with somebody almost immediately within that 3-week period of doing the hormone flush, where we're using lifestyle adjustments and applying those nutrients and working with you directly to figure out how much you need to support your particular symptoms, what we see is a significant reduction in fatigue. Like, I don't need to take a nap today, and I don't remember the last time I haven't needed to nap. Like, those are big deals, right? And again, that's because it's working on a cellular level to help regenerate your liver. So how many of you feel like you would benefit from knowing, yeah, somebody just tell me what to eat and how much of it to eat and how to know if it's actually working for me, and you feel like you'd finally start to see some results? I'm curious if having that mapped out for you would be helpful. Okay, getting lots of yeses. Awesome. So here's a cute little liver. I'll just zoom in here. Your liver is kind of tucked in there under your diaphragm, in the abdominal cavity. Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite case studies ever. Just an amazing story. So this woman, when she first started working with me, she actually had a diagnosis of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, in addition to her terrible period. So I'm going to let her share just a little snippet of what happened to her as we address the gut-brain connection, the microbiome, her liver, which then helped her nervous system to heal. This is what happened afterwards.
I was older having my third son, and so first I thought that's just what it is. I mean, I was 40 when I had him, so I just thought this is how it is when you're 40 and have a kid. But it just didn't seem right. But what was different is like I remember when I had my first two, I could just get on the ground and play with them. I could do all those things, and with this little guy, I'm just like I just can't. I'm just so tired, and so now I can play with them and I want to play with them, and I feel like because of that, like we have a great bond, but I feel like it's even better. And our relationship's even better. And even with my older boys, like I'm more patient with them, and I think that's a big thing that I've noticed. I mean, I still, when things get crazy, I still snap at them and stuff like that, but I have control over things. And I can be in the moment more, I think is the big thing for me, and enjoy my family and I've said this to my husband before. I'm like, this is what I always imagined being a mom was going to be like, and so that joy and that excitement and enjoying your kids, even when they frustrate you. I didn't have that with my second son until much later. And now with all three of them, I can not only like before I was enjoying it, but I was so tired I couldn't like be a part of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I think that's the big daily change for me, is that like I'm a part of my family again. I can enjoy them and I can participate. And, you know, it's a really busy season right now for us and I can do it. So that's huge for me.
I just love at the end how she said it's a busy season, but I can do it. And gosh, I can't even tell you like how many times in my hormone regulating journey I've felt that. Like I hate that feeling of feeling like I'm not showing up my best for my family. That's really, really important to me because I want to leave a legacy that my children remember me being present and fun. And when we're not feeling good and our hormones are out of whack, it's a problem. It's a really big problem. And so part of what I would consider my ministry, yes, it's my business, but it's also my ministry, is helping women to get back the life that they're meant to live. That's really, really important to me. So phase two. So remember, the second root cause problem is a poor gut-brain connection. So this is where we begin really focusing on healing that gut-brain connection by doing the mood, energy, and libido regulating protocol. So this has a very strong impact on the nervous system, okay? There's no way to impact the gut without impacting the nervous system and vice versa. So what we do in this protocol is we begin by reducing inflammation to the gut by incorporating anti-inflammatory foods. And again, because we're working with you one-on-one in the Hormone Wellness Academy format or structure, that means that you have access to us every single day. So when I say us, I'm talking about myself and our in-house nutritionist that works with us to help you to identify, okay, if I incorporate these anti-inflammatory foods, what kind of response does my gut have? So if you think about a lot of people focus really heavily on introducing probiotics and then they're like, yeah, but I only saw like I can't tell if it's working. I only saw about maybe 20% improvement. But if you think about the gut, the digestive tract, and inflammation like an obstacle to the beneficial bacteria having their impact, right? We have to remove the inflammation first. And one of the reasons why we start primarily with food is actually for a couple reasons. One, it is the most impactful long-term, far and above any other supplement. I know this because I've worked with a lot of women. I've also been my own guinea pig. Number two, it is the most sustainable financially for the long term. I don't want you to be stuck paying $700, $500 in supplements every single month for the rest of your life just to manage your symptoms. That is not how supplements are supposed to work. When we begin to nourish our body, number one, it's more affordable because we can access most of these things from a local grocery store. I have yet to hear anybody tell me that it has been outside of their family's budget, like their food budget, to get these things. And two, I want you to be, or are we on three? Two or three? I can't remember. I want you to be spending the bulk of your time and your money learning how to heal yourself. So that at the end of those 12 weeks, you're not feeling like you need me anymore. Like that's my goal. Okay, so phase two. We're working on reducing inflammation through incorporating foods that support lowering inflammation, okay? And that's going to be very specific to you. Number two, we begin incorporating bacteria that support healing the microbiome. And part of how we do this is actually by working with you individually. So if you're sitting here and you're like, just tell me what probiotic to take. Yes, there are some good foundational ones to start with, but you don't want to stay there forever. Your microbiome is meant to be diverse, which means that it's meant to be introduced to multiple different strains of bacteria over a long period of time. So not only are we introducing, probiotics through like a therapeutic probiotic, because most women need like some heavy hitters, but two, we're also introducing probiotic rich foods. So these are foods, again, that are going to help you to maximize the diversity of your gut, which helps to heal the microbiome, which then takes all of this pressure off the nervous system, right? So then the gut begins to actually communicate with your brain. It's like everything opens up, it wakes up. Literally, the nervous system and your neurotransmitters begin to wake up. And one of the things that wakes up when your gut is healthy and whole is your pituitary gland. And without getting like too fancy schmancy on all the words, the pituitary gland is actually what controls the release and the production of progesterone. So this is typically weeks 5 through 8 in the process. And usually within this phase, we see a rapid rate of healing. So we'll see anywhere from 50 to 75% reduction in symptoms or improvement in symptoms. I should have brought some of the Google Sheets on here so that you guys could actually see that in real time because it's pretty dang awesome. So how many of you feel like having that protocol laid out for you, like just knowing what to focus on, that was very budget friendly in a non-overwhelming way, especially as we head into the summer? How many of you feel like that would be beneficial for you? Hey, Samantha, good to see you on here. You probably know most of this stuff already because you heard me parrot it off to you when we were working together. Um, okay, awesome. All right, so phase 3. Good, lots of yeses over there. Awesome. So phase 3. So this is actually where a lot of practitioners start with nourishing your hormones. And what do I mean by that? So this means like they're trying to correct the low progesterone by giving you progesterone. They're trying to correct the high estrogen by doing things that lower your estrogen, right? Through supplementation primarily. However, your supplements, this is like a frightening number. If you have not addressed the root causes of getting your liver nice and healthy and getting the gut-brain connection nice and healthy, you're only going to absorb something like 15 to 20% of whatever supplements you're taking, which means everything else is wasted. So this is why I don't start with supplementation right out of the gate for the majority of women. This is why we also leave the nourishing of your hormones to the very end of the process. And so when you think about nourishing your hormones through nutrients, I want you to think about your estrogen and your progesterone like buckets. And these buckets have to be filled. They have to be filled with the right nutrient information. They have to be filled with lowering a stress response by helping the nervous system. They have to be filled by getting quality sleep. All of these things fill that nutrient bucket so that as your body cycles through hormones throughout the month, it has that nutrient information to pull from. It's kind of like if I need to bake a loaf of gluten-free bread, I go to my pantry and I take a scoop out of my gluten-free flour and I go to make my bread because that's what I need at that time. But if I'm not filling that canister in my pantry, I'm not going to have what I need when I actually need to make it. Does that make sense to everybody so far? And you can see some real-time testimonials over here. We have hundreds of these, so I cannot possibly fit them all on one page. But in phase 3, what we are doing, if you think about phase 3, like tying up all of the loose ends, it's like putting the bow on the present, right? So this eliminates any lingering mood swings, low libido, or irregular cycles. This is like where all the symptoms are just, they go bye-bye, okay? And how we do this again is we're focusing on nutrients specific to regulating your hormone and estrogen, or sorry, your progesterone and estrogen production all month long. And this is also the phase where we're just kind of letting your body kind of find its own balance and then making modifications and tweaks as we need to. So really, there are 2 things that you need to be successful in learning about hormone resilience, in developing resilient hormones. You need to have a system that actually is built for you, meaning it's not built for men like keto and intermittent fasting are, right? It is built for you, that's been proven over time. The second thing that you need is actually support and accountability. I can do a lot of things myself. I love to figure out, I'm like the DIYer. I love to be independent. I love to figure things out myself. I love to problem solve myself. However, there comes a point where I need accountability for the things that I'm trying to grow and heal in. And so I would encourage you that that's what you need to. That is what I see every woman that I've ever worked with is just like, I just needed somebody to tell me what the heck to do. Like, just tell me what to focus on. Tell me what I should be, what I should be doing next now that my symptoms are changing. It's a really big deal. So, I'm going to share with you kind of a behind the scenes of what it looks like in the Hormone Wellness Academy, um, so that you have what you need to begin working through this stuff. Is everybody ready for that? I'm going to see if I can. Give me a second. If I can zoom. Let's see if this works. It's going to be a little wobbly. Sorry.
Okay, you guys, so I wanted to show you really quickly what you have access to in the Hormone Wellness Academy through the app. So we actually have two different ways that you can work through this progress. The first is through the membership website, which you'll have access to both, so you can kind of feel around what works the best to you. And then we also have the Practice Better app. So this is literally, it's a free app that you can download on your phone and access it just, at the click of your fingers. It's amazing. You can also access it from your desktop. So the view that I'm showing you is going to be a little bit different layout than what you'll see on your phone, but you have access to everything that I talk about in here. So, so this is really where you get to access your protocols and support. So I'm just going to walk you through what that looks like. So when you log in, you'll see a notification for any forms that you need to complete. Namely, you'll get a notification about once a week to fill out your tracking form. So it should take less than a minute to fill that out. You just click in the little boxes, and that allows us to track your progress and see how you're doing so that we can give you one-on-one feedback for coaching calls. You're also welcome to send us a message or request a one-on-one session if that's something that you're wanting to upgrade to at some point. And then this is where you're going to access your protocols. So this is really where the magic happens. So we've laid it all out by week. So week 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason that we've laid it out that way is because we really want your body to adjust to healing, and we need to give the body time to begin implementing those strategies and action tasks. So what you're going to do is you're going to just click on the module that you're on for the week. You'll see the training video, any downloads that are available to you. Anytime we have an action task that includes, foods to incorporate for that week, you will see the company meal plans or recipes here. You do not have to follow that to a T. It's just there so that you don't have to think about if there's a certain food that maybe is not part of your normal everyday diet, like beets or cauliflower or something like that. You don't have to think about it. You can just grab the recipe. And that is the same for every single module. And then you'll just go through 1 week at a time. That way, when you log in, you can see exactly where you left off and where you need to keep moving forward. Let's see here, what was I going to say? You can check your progress here with that as well. And then the other aspect to this that I wanted to show you, and hopefully you guys can see.
Okay, so I'm actually going to pause that part there because we have moved the community aspect, meaning the group coaching, the group communication between everybody that's in the Hormone Wellness Academy, the conversations between myself and you and the nutritionist, all of that's in Practice Better now. So it's literally just at your fingertips. It is so convenient and easy to use, okay? So what that means is no more guessing about how you're responding to each thing. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times like I have tried a supplement and I've been like having some weird symptoms, but I can't tell if this is detox or like a bad reaction to it. And that's typically where a lot of women give up, right? They give up on their progress because they didn't know that maybe that was a healing reaction, right? You also have access to Monday through Friday support for any questions or feedback about your progress. We have twice monthly group coaching calls. So that's where you can bring any questions that you have. Even if you're not able to be there live, you can submit your question beforehand, and we will answer it for you and just make sure that you have the support that you need. So as we're moving into the summer, I just want you to know that this is a very summer friendly plan, meaning meaning that we all have weird schedules during the summer. I tend to like get really lax on my schedule and try to really not overdo things. I like to have the flexibility to take my kids to the park if they want to go to the park, go on a beach trip if they want to go on a beach trip. And so you need a plan that is that easy to implement over the summer, okay? And so what that looks like again is just one action task per week. That's all you're going to be focusing on. For the majority of women, it's less than 20 minutes of time implementing what we're teaching you, meaning 15 to 20 minutes for the training video that week, and then you just do what we've shared with you to do based off of our feedback and your symptoms, okay? So when you enroll, so it is just $97 a month, you guys. I really felt about 2 years ago, against all of the marketing advice from every coach that I have ever worked with, to make this the most affordable hormone regulating program out there. Okay. And I literally didn't have a second thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's the right thing for me to do, even though again, it went against all of the marketing coaching advice that was out there, to make this the most affordable thing that you could do to support your hormones. Number one, I'm not out here to gouge anybody's money. $97 a month it's going to save you so much money in the long run. Because we're not loading you up. It's not $97 a month and then $500 a month on supplements. It's $97 a month, and you might have to buy 1 or 2 supplements throughout the process, and you're good to go. Now, there's always the option to upgrade to like a one-on-one coaching call if you want that. But I would start at the base level. If you're like, yes, this is what I need. I've been waiting for a plan to work through on my summer. I know that this is exactly the thing that I have been waiting for. Then I'm going to drop a link in the comments for you to register, because I want you to get access to this as you move through the summer, okay? Sorry, it's going to take me a second to drop the link here for everybody. Now, you are going to want to click on the link and let it open up into a new page, or copy and paste it into the URL so that you can join the monthly coaching program. So we do have some spots available, and I wanted to share with you really quickly that we have some very time-sensitive bonuses, meaning that they're not going to be available forever, and I really don't want you to miss them, okay? So let me get back to this, and I will share my screen. All right. So the bonuses that you have available when you register, I'm a very visual person, so I'm going to show that to you. These are worth over $800, you guys, and that is not an exaggeration. That's not like just a made up number. That is in calculating the time that it took to create these resources, the research and development that went into it, the value that you get out of it when you utilize them. So these are all things that you will be able to have access to and download immediately once you register. So make sure to grab the link in the chat if you have not already, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the Hormone Wellness Academy. But before I hop off, I would love to hear any questions that you have. Just feel free to put it in the comments, and I will, for those of you that are on Facebook, I'll have to come back and answer them because I can't answer it live on 3 platforms. But for those of you that are on Zoom, please feel free to put it in the chat. Now, if you're watching and you're like, I'm not sure where to start, and I don't like, I know that I need a process, but I'm not sure if I need some one-on-ones. I'm not sure if I need like what I need with it, then I'm going to actually drop a link to schedule a time to chat with me. And we will figure out which plan or protocol is going to make the most sense for you. If we need to add lab testing to it, if you need a lot more one-on-one support, if I can figure out where my tab is. Okay, sorry. I will drop that in the chat as well. All right. I'm not seeing any questions come through. So make sure, because Zoom will kick out the links once we log off. So I want to make sure that you grab those links before we end the live. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that this gave you insight. I hope that this was a really valuable use of your time, and we will be in touch.